We got
Mhm.
three things, and this is when we became a predator. We got blood, we
Mhm.
got organs, and we got fat. And the key to all three of those is that they are extremely nutrient dense.
So describe for us what is like supports like.
Yeah, so if you think about it, every part of the body, from the muscles to the organs to the brain, they all have what is it that kids are developing the most at very young ages? It's their brain.
Back to your point about CoQ10, in the world of fertility, that is an important supplement that we see all the way through the IVF centers. So if someone were to be taking,
And on the flip side of that, the beautiful thing about eating these foods, right? So eat whether you're eating it the actual, organ meats or whether you're eating it in the form of pluck. The
Mhm.
beautiful thing about eating them is that if you do have a day where you're just like, I'm not feeling it today.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of Health University, where we are cooking up something special for you. As you know, at Health University, we cover lessons in fertility, pregnancy, perimenopause, all things reproductive health. And today we're going to talk about something pretty unique, organ meats for optimal health and fertility with Chef James Berry. James Berry's 20 years in the culinary field started as a private chef cooking for celebrities such as Tom Cruise, George Clooney. He is CEO and founder of the organ-based superfood seasoning called Pluck. It is the first of its kind and an amazingly easy and delicious way for people to get organ meats in their diet. So, welcome, 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 James. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Susan. It's a pleasure. Well, particularly the ancestral, I've over the years and my 20 plus years in the field as a chef supporting people's health, I have really identified, what I believe are the pillars. And
Mhm.
and I really do reflect on what are and this, Homo sapien body thrives in. With the caveat that I understand we're not going to go backwards, to becoming cave people, which I know some people sometimes express, but I really do look at it from that lens, but then I apply it to this modern lifestyle that we
Yeah,
live in.
beautiful. So what is it about organ meats that makes it so important? Because if I can pull a pun, some people would consider it awful.
Yes. Yeah, well, the name awful, and sometimes it's pronounced offal just so people don't get caught up in the awful. But yeah, absolutely. That term they believe actually came from the idea that when you slaughter the animal, those are the parts of the animal that fall off.
I see.
So awful.
Hmm.
And really, when we define what awful is or offal, it's everything but the muscle and the bone. So
Hmm.
they count even things like the tongue
Hmm.
as an organ. They'll say even the tail and the hooves are part of that offal kind of
Hmm.
category.
And
But
why
it is
is
an
it important
interesting.
that we have this versus just the muscle meat? What are these organs giving us that we can't otherwise get?
Yeah, well, I think you have to go back in time a little bit. So,
Mhm.
if you talk to archaeologists, they'll say that basically right around, this, as I mentioned, this Homo sapien body we're in, prior to that, we had started out as foragers.
Hmm.
And when you forage to get enough nutrients, it's an all-day thing. So you're foraging for much of your day is foraging. Then after we were foragers, we became scavengers. Now we were not the predator, but we came to the dead carcass after the predator had been there.
I see.
And we did get muscle meat, but not much changed.
Hmm.
What truly changed, where we then stepped into this Homo sapien age, where our brains got bigger and our digestive systems got smaller, we got
Hmm.
three things. And this is when we became a predator. We got blood, we
Hmm.
got organs, and we got fat. And the key to all three of those is that they are extremely nutrient dense. So even muscle meat is not as nutrient dense as beef liver, for example.
Interesting.
And even more importantly, because as we all know, we can take supplements, we can eat meat, we can do all these things, but how we digest it and how we absorb it is really more important than what it is. Because you can be eating the most exotic, most quality food in the world, but if your body is not digesting it properly, it does not matter. And so that is the key with organ meats is they're incredibly high, easily absorbed. They're just high in nutrients and easily absorbed for the human body.
That is interesting. I did not know that. So I'm just going to repeat it so that the listening viewing audience can hear. When we eat organ meats, it is more easily digestible and assimilated than if we're eating any other kind of flesh protein.
And if you think about it, muscle meat is fibrous.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it doesn't have literal fiber, but it is it's a muscle.
Yeah.
So
It has skeletal fibers.
yeah, so it's more challenging to, like, if you've ever watched a liver get to room temperature versus a muscle meat, like a
Hmm.
ribeye,
Hmm.
the liver starts to disintegrate and almost become like liquid
Hmm.
because it's the membrane that that's holding it together is not as solidified as the muscle meat. And
Hmm.
when you think about organs in general, the ancestral way or even the Native American way of looking at them is, and really the Chinese way as well, is like supports like.
Let's dive into that a little bit because I think that when we really hear that and understand it, it makes a lot of sense. So describe for us what is like supports like.
Yeah, so if you think about it, every part of the body, from the muscles to the organs to the brain, they all have nutrients and vitamins that support um, their objective or that support their mechanism, that
Hmm.
what they need to do their job.
Hmm.
And they're all uniquely different. They might have crossover, like they might all have B12 in them, but they're still uniquely different. And so the idea is that if you are eating muscle, it's supporting your muscle. If you are eating heart, it's supporting your heart. If you're eating liver, it's supporting your liver. And when we then, through modern technology, kind of dug deeper into these organs, there is truth to this.
Hmm.
Not only have we seen this show up in testing from a lot of glandular supplement companies have tested this, where let's just say if you put like animal bile salts
Hmm.
in the actual supplement, it supports that part in your body. So if
Right.
you're missing your gallbladder, for example, you want to put animal gallbladder salts in the supplement, and then it's actually doing supporting your own processing of fat as the gallbladder normally would.
Hmm.
Um, but heart is a great example because what do you find in most supplements that are supporting cardiovascular health? It's called CoQ10 or coenzyme Q10, and it is in heart.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I find it really fascinating when you start to do a deep dive. Now, that can also go even deeper. So there was a study a while back. I think it was in the 40s. It's either the 20s or the 40s, but basically, this woman scientist, she put orphans in she had them in one facility, and she basically was trying to refute this idea that kids will just eat junk. If there's junk in front of them, that's what they eat. And so she was
Hmm.
trying to show that actually they gravitate towards the foods that their body needs.
Interesting.
And so she put all these different categories of food in the kitchen for these young kids to get access to. And what's fascinating, now this is definitely a different time and age. So they did provide organ meats, they
Hmm.
provided brain, they provided bone marrow, and it was all cooked and ready for them to eat. And guess what the kids gravitated towards? Now, of course, they did eat fruit and things like that, but they gravitated towards brain and bone marrow.
Interesting. Wow.
And what is it the kids are developing the most at very young ages? It's their brain and
Mhm.
it's their
And their
bone. The
bones. Yeah.
structure
Yeah.
is growing.
Yeah.
And so that's why even to this day, when I'm talking to parents, or I always suggest, like, while it's helpful to give kids liver and kidney, that's
Mhm.
actually not what they need most.
Mhm.
They need brain and bone marrow, and really it's us adults that need kidney and liver because we're the ones that need to detoxify more than little children do.
Right, right. Back to your point about CoQ10, in the world of fertility, that is an important supplement that we see all the way through the IVF centers. So if someone were to be taking heart organ meat, and while they're trying to conceive, that would also help the mitochondria all the way down to their ovaries and eggs growing within, I have to presume. So if CoQ10 is the factor, then it's important for not only your heart health, but also for your ovarian health.
Oh, well, I mean, what's so fascinating, so everything that science tells us you need to create life.
Yeah.
So, because really when we look at a prenatal, that is what science is telling you, this is what you need to support creating life.
Hmm.
Every one of those vitamins and minerals that are in a prenatal are in the organ meats.
That's
Every single one of them.
fascinating.
So in many ways, organ meats are Mother Nature's multivitamin.
I love
And
it. Mother Nature's
it,
prenatal.
it
And
really is.
mhm,
And if you think about it, I mean, I have some testimonies that people have written to us about this. One woman, she had had two children
mhm.
and she was now pregnant with her third. I guess actually when she emailed me, she had already had her third, but she was telling the story of how she had her first two kids. She had hemorrhaging on both,
Oof.
and she had very little milk supply.
Hmm.
The only thing she did different for her third is she had heard about Pluck and she started using the seasoning from conception all the way through, even after she had had the baby, and she had no hemorrhaging and she had an abundance of milk.
That is
So,
amazing.
and that's the only thing she testified she did differently.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I can't even tell you how many people that work with pregnant people or postnatal, like so like the doulas or even the healthcare practitioners that are actually looking at the placenta, for example,
Hmm.
they will say they always can tell if the person ate organ meats during their pregnancy by the color and size of the placenta.
That's fascinating. So there are people listening and viewing out there who are going to say, yeah, all that's nice, but there just ain't no way I'm going to eat heart, or ain't no way I'm going to eat brain. Tell us about Pluck. Like how is it constructed so that we can be sure we're getting the nutrients we need from the seasoning?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to say I am like you as well. Whoever is saying that, I am like you as well. I became aware of the nutrient density and importance of organ meats when I was in culinary school over 20 years ago.
Mhm.
I did not do anything about it though.
Yeah.
I didn't get raised eating food like that, and I still didn't really know how to do it because I understand that issue is we really face three big hurdles. We have this notion that it doesn't taste good, so that ick taste. We have the kind of missing or lack of the culinary knowledge. A lot of us don't know how to cook them. We're intimidated by them. We think they cook differently than anything else. So it's just, it feels foreign to
Yeah.
us. And then
Yeah.
the third would be sourcing. A lot of people still struggle to find sourcing of these items.
Mhm.
So I recognize that. But what changed for me is when the stakes changed. And for me, what changed was I became a father. And when I became a father, that's when it was like, okay, no more playing around. Not only do I want to live long enough to watch my kids grow old, be it their, should they get married, to be, walk them down the aisle, all that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
but I also want them to thrive. I mean, I believe that's what all parents want, is we
Of
just
course.
want our kids to thrive.
Of course.
And for my money, the problem is here in the US, and anyone can look this up, but in 2015, they did a study and they found that 93% of Americans are nutrient deficient.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a 2015 study. We're in 2025 as we record this episode. I guarantee the number is higher now. It's probably 95 to 97%
Yeah.
potentially.
And not only that, there's the nutrient deficiency and then there's the increased toxic load. So
Yes.
whatever we can do to flip both of those will only help, as you say, your children, our children, future children, the health of the future generations.
Absolutely. And when we talk about kids thriving, what we're really also saying is we want them to be resilient.
Yeah.
And so we need to make sure they're getting these truly nutrient dense food because a lot of people are investing in foods that they think are nutrient dense. And I'll even use broccoli as an example. They're thinking like, oh, well, I'm buying broccoli, I'm steaming it and I'm eating it, weekly. That means I'm getting nutrients in. Well, sadly, that's just not true.
Yeah.
When the US government started in the 60s, they started measuring the nutrients and the vitamins in our produce, in our agriculture, and they have been tracking it since then. So
Mm.
what is that, 60 plus years? And they are tracking every decade it lessens. So broccoli of 2000 of 1960 to 2025, it's very different,
Yeah.
and they are not the same vegetable at all. Then we also have when it's pulled from the ground, or when it's actually the transportation time. So how
Mhm.
ripe is it when it's pulled? Because if it's not ripe, it's not going to be as nutritious.
Mhm.
Then you have the travel time, you have exposure to light and sun, and
Mhm.
then how long is it at the grocery store? How long is it inside your refrigerator? And then how do you cook it? So
Yeah.
all these factors play into the basically, once you actually go to eat that broccoli, it has like very little nutrients to potentially to zero. And what you're ultimately getting is just fiber.
Wow. Wow.
So that is the harsh reality. So that's why the stakes were high for me. And I was like, okay, I really need to reevaluate how we're getting these foods and what is true nutrient dense food.
Mhm.
And from all my research, I could not deny that organ meats were the most nutrient dense food on the planet. But then I was like, okay, how do I actually get people to eat
Yeah,
this?
you're not going to
Because
make
I'm
organ
not
meat
eating it.
popsicles,
Yeah,
right?
right. And I know too many, I've worked with too many people, and I know too many stories of the mother who says, "Oh yes, I made liver pate and tried to get my family to eat it and no one ate it. I was the only one that ate it."
Mhm.
And I feel that, and I don't want there to be a fight in
Yeah.
the kitchen. We all work hard enough.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend my time and energy in the kitchen to then see my kids not eat the food.
Mhm.
And that is the harsh, that's the reality of what most of us are seeing.
Right.
So that's when I started breaking down, how do I solve this? And I used, my skills as a chef to, unlock this. But I also think I used, to the best of my ability, my sensibilities, and that I was a picky eater growing up. And
Uh-huh.
so I really get it that when we're trying to eat foods that are sort of adventurous or different, what we need them to do, we need them to hit certain criteria. One of them is that we need them to taste good.
Yeah.
They need to be delicious.
Mhm.
Two, we need them to be easy because we're already overcoming a hurdle by just trying something new. And food is very psychological. There's a lot of emotions attached to foods, particularly new foods. And so I knew I had to make it easy so that there was didn't have that hurdle of someone having to adopt a new habit or something like that.
Mhm.
But then the other piece was I had to mess with our mindset around it. So, what are the criteria? What are the things we associate with organ meats? Was slimy. We associate a certain smell, the textures. We're very texture oriented, us humans. And so I was like, how do I just demolish that?
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, we already have freeze dried and powdered organ meats. So
Mhm.
right there, there's no texture to it.
Right.
Now I just got to work on the flavor
Yeah.
because the freeze-dried and powdered organ meats don't taste very good.
Right.
And so then I just, over time I started working with that stuff. And then I basically what I look Pluck, how I categorize Pluck is that it's a dry pate. So
Mhm.
I'm taking things that you would normally add to a pate, like seasonings and herbs and onions and things
Yeah.
like that. And I'm just using the dried product. So I'm
Amazing.
using the the product that's shelf stable.
Yeah.
And I made Pluck delicious and as easy as just salting your food.
Mhm.
And the power of Pluck is that it's not just liver, it's not just one organ, it's five organs. And
Okay,
we
that was
hope
my
to
next
by the
question. So tell us what's
yeah,
in
we hope to have six, but right now it's liver, heart, kidney, spleen, and pancreas. We hope maybe by the time that this comes out, we also have lung in there because that's one thing we want to add.
important for the
And we may
winter.
even start adding collagen as well,
Mhm.
because that's an organ, the collagen usually comes from the skin, so that's an organ as well.
Mhm.
So though that's ultimately in every Pluck product, you're going to have that organ blend.
Mhm.
And then I made it taste good. I combined it with organic spices and herbs like onion, garlic, lemon peel, and I used my chef experience to truly make a seasoning that is not just salt
Mhm.
with some flavor,
Yeah.
but that is flavor with a little bit of salt.
I
And
love
it's a completely different way than most seasonings are made because most seasonings, the first ingredient, salt. For us, it's like the third or fourth ingredient. So it's
interesting.
a very different, it's got a very rich and powerful taste to it
Mhm.
versus just a salty taste.
And then I'm thinking of it as a dry marinade or something like that. Does the pluck need to be sort of on the skin of the chicken for a period of time, or can you just kind of all put it in the pot to make soup together?
I actually recommend that people use it as a finishing salt
Oh,
first.
finishings. Okay.
Yeah, and that's because heat, no matter what the food is going to denature food. So heat always does that because vitamins don't do well with heat. However, when the vitamin is a food, it's going to get less denatured than if it's like a, I don't know, like an isolated vitamin, that is removed from the food or something like that and is
Synthetic.
synthetic. That's just
Yeah.
going to get destroyed by heat. That's why a
Okay.
lot of times those are in capsules or tablets.
Exactly.
But
Exactly. And
when
when you
it's
were
a real
speaking
food,
of
it is
organ meats, I
protected.
was thinking as well that, how, like, when we're taking like liver capsules, we're taking yet, another supplement. We're really not eating. We're not really nourishing our body holistically. We're swallowing another, gel cap in the hopes that that liver will, support our liver. So I love that this becomes food as medicine once
It's
again.
such a good point, and I'm so
Mhm.
glad you brought that up because that is the question. Are we designed to eat so many gelatin caps? And then on the flip side of that, are we sure it's all 100% gelatin?
Exactly.
Because if you're buying from one of those big box, discount stores, are we sure they're not using microplastics?
Yeah.
Because they very well might be.
Yeah.
As much as we wish this industry was ultra regulated, it really isn't.
Mm-mm. Nope.
And
It's
anyone
Wild,
can
Wild
say
West out there.
anything.
So you really do need to rely on the integrity of the founders, formulators, owners, because once it gets bought up by, the big names, what they're like three or four big names, we don't know what happens to.
You really don't, and a lot of them are just trying to, cut costs.
Please connect with us for a fertility assessment call at the link below. We'd love to learn a bit about you and share our resources. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you never miss an episode.
But here's something that even is more important to me and why I'm so glad you asked that question. So I was talking about, the Homo sapien body.
Hmm.
So that's about what 350,000 years old. This
Hmm.
this the body we're in right now hasn't changed much for the last 300 plus thousand years. So the foods though we're eating are only about these kind of Franken foods. They're really only about 100 years old. They're
If
not that
that,
old.
if that,
Yeah, if
I'm
that.
like 50 to 70 years old, I think.
Totally, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
when you think about that, we really have to default to more of an ancestral mindset. And so what I think about is like, okay, well, 300,000 years ago, what was the communication pathway? Like, what was our body needing to know from what it was eating? Well, it really was needing to know two things. Is this food going to kill me or
Hmm.
is it going to nourish me? That was it. It was that simple and that serious, right? Because if you did eat the wrong food, you would die.
Hmm.
And there was no label on there to say what it was, right?
Right.
You were in uncharted territory.
Hmm.
Well, how you got that information was really ultimately it was your through your senses.
Senses, exactly.
And you have your senses and the one that I'm most interested in is the neural lingual response, which is the one where when it enters your mouth, what communication pathway is opened up. And so if you think about it, you have your eyesight, you have smell, you have touch, and you have taste.
Mhm.
And once you get that taste in your mouth, all of them are communicating to your body something. But
Yeah.
once you get it in your mouth,
Then you have
it's
sound
done.
and it goes, yum.
Yep. Exactly. Your body usually is connected to flavor. So if it's flavorful, that equals nutrition. And
Mhm.
then two, it's telling your body when to stop.
Yeah.
And
Good. Oh goodness. Yes. Let's continue that
right. And
because this.
so one of the issues I have with this, I'm going to call it swallow culture,
Hmm.
is that basically, and I'll use salt as an example. If I give you a salt tablet, it bypasses that communication pathway. You just swallow it, you get zero response, and then potentially 30 minutes later, you might feel bloated. And yet you might forget that you took a salt tablet and you might go, what's going on? And then you realize, oh, I got too much salt.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, if I go the other direction and I actually put salt on your tongue and I'm using that neural lingual communication pathway, The first time I put the salt in your tongue, it actually might taste good. The
Mhm.
second time, not so much. The third time, your body starts rejecting it.
Yeah.
The fourth time, I guarantee you're gagging. Your body literally will not let another bit of salt pass go.
Mhm.
That is your body saying to stop.
Yeah.
And you don't get that response when you
When you
swallow things. You only get it when you eat.
right.
And if you think about it, I mean, I can't even tell you the amount of people who came up to me at events when I first started Pluck. They would say, "Oh, I'm taking the capsules, the organ meats in the capsule." But whenever I do, I feel so nauseous.
Hmm.
I said, "Well, that's interesting. Do you think maybe a bottle that says take 6 to 8 capsules doesn't know what your own body needs? Maybe your
Exactly.
body knows better than a company trying to sell capsules."
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Brilliant. Brilliant. And then the sort of complementary or flip side of this conversation is that as a swallow culture, we're also swallowing nutrient deficient foods. Where
Yes.
the things that we think we're tasting are flavorings, additives, salt, as you say, or something, or sugars. But so
Or
we're
added flavors, like you said. I mean, using the ancestral flavor equal nutrition. Well, if you eat something that has strawberry flavor,
Mhm.
your body recognizes the strawberry flavor. It says, "Oh, the flavor equals nutrition," but the nutrition never comes, and so that's why it keeps eating
Right.
that product, and it doesn't know when to stop. But yet, I guarantee you're eating a real strawberry, your
Mhm.
body would stop. It
Yeah.
would not let you eat bushels and bushels of
Mhm.
strawberries. You would get
Right.
sick.
Right. I love this conversation, and I particularly love it for the person out there who's, again, wanting to do the best that she can, and I'll use the pronoun she, in preparation for pregnancy, because what you're eating right now is affecting this month's ovulation cycle, next month's, the next month's, and the next month's, 120 days. So if you are getting this cumulative increase in nutrient dense foods, then just think of the health of that egg that is ovulating in 120 days. And it makes it, you make it so easy that it's almost like an impossibility to say, oh, no, thank you.
Yeah, and it's such a good point. I'm glad you brought that up as well,
Mhm.
which is the microdosing.
Yeah.
We get on this American bandwagon where we think go big or go home. It's such a false concept of how to assimilate in life and how to make health a lifestyle is we focused so much on how much am I eating?
Hmm.
And what I suggest we actually focus on is how often. So
Hmm.
I would rather have you do small amounts, but do them more regularly than
Hmm.
have you do eat liver once a month.
Hmm.
That we don't know what that's going to do. We don't know how long it lasts, and most likely it's not giving you everything you need. But if you take, for example, Pluck, and you're doing a little bit each day,
Hmm.
every time you eat your meal, you're salting your food,
Hmm.
you will see a cumulative effect. And that is what that woman I shared with earlier saw. It doesn't have to be heavy lifting. And I think the beautiful thing about getting pregnant is that you have no option but to listen to your body
Right.
once you get pregnant.
Hmm.
And everyone who's been pregnant knows what I'm talking about. Like you just start having these cravings
Hmm.
and nature kind of takes over to a
Hmm.
degree.
Hmm.
And so it's really a great idea as to what you're saying in that let's pretend we're already pregnant.
Yeah, we're pre-pregnant. If you want to get pregnant, then you are officially
Yeah,
pre-pregnant now.
exactly. Now. And so be eating the foods regularly that
Hmm.
are going to support that desired outcome.
Mhm. And if I'm suggesting, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I am, if you're starting now, then by the time you get pregnant, you've already acclimated to some of these tastes so that you won't have a revulsion to them the way we do some other things when we're struggling with morning sickness during that first trimester, because the body is already saying, "Oh, yes, please," to this.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
And on the flip side of that, the beautiful thing about eating these foods, right? So eat
Hmm.
whether you're eating it the actual, organ meats or whether you're eating it in the form of pluck. The
Hmm.
beautiful thing about eating them is that if you do have a day where you're just like, I'm not feeling it today. I just don't really feel inclined to eat organ meats.
Hmm.
That is probably your body saying that you don't need it
Yeah. Yeah.
that day.
That's
And
great.
so, how beautiful when we start to get so in tune with our body that
Mhm.
now we are listening to what it needs. We're listening to our body. And I'll even kind of reinforce that with something. It's a quote from Dr. Bill Schindler, who's a professor of archaeology with food and has been studying a lot of the just humankind and around what he thinks we should be eating.
Uh-huh.
And he has the quote, "We are the only species in the world to look to someone else to tell us what to eat."
Yeah, isn't that something?
And
Yeah,
there's over 9 million species.
yeah.
So I don't think we're so special that we didn't at one point know.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I think that's brilliant. And another question, and I know there are various flavorings because I've gotten a few. Can we blend more than one? Can we put some of
Oh,
the
yeah.
garlic and then some of the spicy, as a finish to, and I'm actually thinking of my own chicken soup that I'm making today, or do you recommend just using one type?
No, you can absolutely follow your taste buds. It's designed for you to follow your taste buds.
Mhm.
It won't push you into a danger zone.
Mhm.
While it is sort of a supplement because the organ meats are so potent,
Mhm.
um, the beautiful thing is because you're eating it, your body will kind of tell you. But yes, to your point, people combine the original or the spicy mild to the zesty garlic, and it's delicious.
Yeah, I mean,
And
my
by the
mouth is
time
watering just talking about
Oh,
it.
it's just so good.
Mhm.
But by the time that this podcast comes out, we will have a brain product as well. So we're going to be debuting cinnamon, which will have brain in it,
Wow.
and then we'll also have a pure blend of just brain. And I cannot stress enough how excited I am about that, but also how important I believe it to be. And I'm already getting reports now, of course, take it or leave it, what I'm about to say, but I did provide a test product to people to test,
Mhm.
and they swear that they felt sharper from using
Mhm.
it. And to
Mhm.
me, that makes a lot of sense. No different than using like lion's mane mushrooms,
Mhm.
but that actually eating the brain, so that like supports like, that you are getting the nutrients that are high in the brain, and that those are going to then support your own brain.
Yeah.
And I really do believe that it's going to potentially even support a lot of the brain issues we're progressively seeing from dementia to Alzheimer's. I don't think it's going to solve it because I think a lot of that is tied to our environment and the toxins, but I do believe it's going to help offset it.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited that because that is our mission, is to continue to get as much of the whole animal
I
and
love
make that as accessible as possible to everyone in an easy and delicious way.
Wonderful. And once again, listeners, viewers, when you're pregnant, you're encouraged to be taking some DHA for fetal brain development. If you're taking brain, guess
And that's
what?
in brain.
Yeah.
And I will
Have
say,
a smart baby.
if anyone is nervous about it, because I know here in the US we've been taught to be nervous about brain
Hmm.
because of mad cow. We
Hmm.
source from New Zealand,
Hmm.
and they have never had a mad cow outbreak ever.
Okay,
And
great.
so their quality of brain is unparalleled, and it's extremely high quality, and it has had no issues. Uh,
Amazing. That's
that
wonderful.
you might find in some more conventional,
Yeah.
in other countries and
Yeah,
whatnot.
yeah, for sure. So a little highlight for closing this podcast. I try to keep it to about 30 minutes because our brains tend to get distracted at that point, and I want people to go into the show notes. There'll be links to go through and order your pluck and there's a coupon code. But I want the viewers to know that as we converse today, this very evening, Chef Barry will be on Shark Tank. Obviously, this will air later, but if you're listening now, go back and find that episode. I can't wait to listen tonight to watch it tonight. But sorry that I'm getting it to you a little later. But go back and watch it because not only is he brilliant, and not only is he on a mission to help us get really as healthy as possible using organ meats. He's hilarious. He is truly hilarious, which is why I had to get my little pun in at the beginning because I thought, I had to see if I could just, outwit you a little bit.
Yeah, you got me for sure. Yeah, I sometimes will say that. Yeah, I'm really honored. I have to say, we got a lot of people don't know they do this, but they actually contacted us.
Mm,
They saw an ad, one of the producers saw an ad, and then they reached out to us and asked if we would apply. And I
amazing.
was, it's so interesting because I was sort of hesitant over all these years to whether I wanted to apply on Shark Tank because I already had some investors and I didn't know how I felt about that kind of doing that, any of those type of shows.
Mhm.
But I came to this realization before the producer had even reached out. I came to this realization that, you know what? This is bigger than me and this mission that I'm on and that we as a company are on, we really do believe that the missing link to our diets is these ancestral foods. We're no longer eating these foods that our ancestors regularly ate and
Mhm.
that much of the world still eats. It's
Right,
here in America that we're not eating these
right,
things, and I believe we're suffering for it. And what's happening is that we're not eating these Mother Nature provided foods, and yet then we're realizing we're deficient and we're going to these laboratory made capsules and tablets.
right.
And I just think before we go there, because there is a place for those,
Mhm.
obviously, but
Mhm.
before we go there, I just believe we should try to get these nutrients from food and from what nature is providing. And so
Absolutely.
I'm so excited to just spread that message on ABC through Shark Tank because that's the bigger message. There's still people out there that don't connect
Yeah.
that their
A
health
lot
is
of people.
tied to their food, what
Yeah.
they eat.
Yeah, a lot of people. And that's also why I'm so grateful that you're on it because it's going to get to a much larger audience quickly than it could otherwise in just the natural, organic unfolding of media or word of mouth. So thanks for getting out of your own way and saying yes to that because I can't imagine it. There must have been a moment of, oh, do I really want to do this?
Yeah,
But
and it's not an easy it's a very stressful process.
Mhm,
I'm honored to be on the show. They've done more for business and entrepreneurs than anything I can think of. So
mhm,
it's a fantastic show to be associated with.
mhm.
But yeah, not an easy process. So I'm just grateful that we made it to air.
Yeah. Amen. Amen. Well, Chef, shall I go to Chef James or Chef Barry?
Oh, James is great.
James.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I like saying chef. I must be watching too much of The Bear. But anyway, thank you so very much for having us. I'd love to have you back on when the other products come out as well, because I'd like to learn more, specifically about those individual products and how they can help everybody. I think we support everyone.
Absolutely. And we'll have to get you some so you can try it because I think that's the ultimate test is you need to try things yourself. And I know
Mhm.
that, a lot of people are looking to other people to provide the answers or the path that they should follow. But I just want to leave us all with one really important piece, which is that there's one person in your life that will never lie to you, that will never lead you astray, and that is your body.
That's right.
And no matter what anyone says around you, whether it's through social media or even through your medical practitioners and doctors,
Mhm.
your body knows what it needs. We just have to listen more and we have to get out of our heads because sometimes we're on these soapboxes and we think, I'm going to eat vegetarian because that's going to save the planet. But then your body's screaming. You're getting skin issues, you have bloat, you're gaining weight, whatever is going on. You're
The
having trouble
cortisol is
sleeping.
spiking through the roof. Yes.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And then we're not listening because we're letting our head lead versus our body.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's true. Your body is the best influencer that you can come across. So stop
Beautiful.
scrolling. Don't stop listening to us, but stop scrolling. And but more importantly, listen to your body. And really, I can't stress strongly enough, try Pluck. You'll be so you're welcome. That's all I have to say is you're welcome. All right, well, we're going to sign off here now, and we always sign off our episodes of Health University with the little adage, class dismissed. Hey, thanks for joining us today here at Health University. If you want more episodes like this at Health University, you can find them wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you never miss an episode. If you have any thoughts or questions, please drop a comment down below. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you at our next episode of Health University. But for now, class dismissed.